Yeah. That's it, I think, yeah. Yeah. It's a one that just came out. I've taken that class.
Which class?
Any class. I become a security guard at college.
Yeah.
They should go on. Exactly.
See it. They're gonna even talk about it.
Oh, the predominance.
Oh, I was thinking. No, but we're gonna talk about the policy.
Oh, everything.
Did you sign it?
Good. Yeah.
I work on
The young people are doing it. Make a lot of noise. Crowd.
But.
Yeah, it's all good.
Jesus. Who's Canada? Yeah. That's a bunch of
Okay. Get this business going. The copy, this is the informal meeting of August 7th, 2023. The copy of the draft minutes of the July 18th meeting has been posted on the city website. Up first.
Can I ask a question?
No,
Is this a public meeting?
it's a public meeting, but please sit down. There's no questions.
So the public has a chance to
Please sit down.
speak?
Please sit down.
Does the public, is there any public participation in the meetings anymore, Tom?
Please sit down.
Yes or no?
I don't have to.
Are you gonna ask the public to speak today?
Bill, we'll get it started.
I guess that's a no, Tom?
The first group up, well, make it a yes. The fire department, who's gonna, oh, Shane, come on.
Everybody going?
Oh, quick and easy here. We had 48 calls last month. 2 of them were fires, 4 of them were rescue and emergency medical services. 10 were hazardous conditions, 9 were service calls, 4 were good intent calls, and 19 were false calls. Quick and easy. Anybody got anything?
Oh, great evening. Good work.
Good luck. Thank you. So the other night that Rivertown had yet another.
Yes.
That goes under the falls.
Yeah, it's forcible. People are going into the
Yeah.
bathrooms and bathing. Or steam from the shower, so nothing we can really do about it.
Cool. Any other questions from the council? Questions from the public? Sorry. I should have got that. Okay, next up is the youth department. Liz York.
That was the threshold, by the way.
Oh, I'm not gonna be quick.
30 seconds.
I'm not gonna be quick at all today. Actually, one of my longer reports, so. So there's gonna be a lot of notes. I'm gonna try and get everything. One of the things about doing the reports on Friday is that things change. Especially in our department pretty quickly, so. I'll do my best to make sure I get all accurate information for you. I know there's a few things with the resolutions that I have that are gonna require discussion. If we can just wait till the end of the presentation to ask the question. All right, so it's time to start thinking about fall at the youth center. We're in our last week of summer camp, we'll get there. But we have some policy and program changes that we're implementing this year. We are constantly working together to evaluate what we're doing, what we're offering, what we're doing well, where we can improve, and any gaps in what we're offering. So we've been spending time reflecting on that. So one of the first changes of note for our programs and policies is registration is going to be done by grade, not age, for this coming school year. And I'm going to give you a little rundown of about what that's going to look like and why we kind of shifted to that. So the hope is that we'll have this secondary location. This is one of the things that will be discussed in the resolutions. We got the contract from the church to do the programming there. I will say that I think this secondary location to give this age appropriate programming is invaluable to our community. I think that it's almost a good service not to offer a secondary location to the kids that aren't getting what they need from the amount of kids that are in that space at the youth center and the variety of age ranges. Just can't meet the needs of kids in a setting like that. So we do our best to try to offer a meaningful program, and I think this is really going to give us the opportunity to do so. This is going to be for kindergarten to second grade. So this space is going to allow us to give those students more age appropriate programming as well as more direct supervision. The needs, like I said, are much different for our younger participants than our older participants, and it's important that we're able to support our families and offer meaningful support to them. So the students will be dropped off at the location, they'll be met by staff just like the other location. We'll do an opening circle. We do a little check-in with the kids, let them know what the day is going to look like. They're going to have a snack as soon as they get there, and then we're going to go into programming. The location has several classrooms for different programming that we can offer in a main room for meals and such. At 5, we do dinner still, just like we do at the other center, and then head home at 5:30. Transportation will be provided. We're working with the county and Promise neighborhood to secure busing from the youth center home. Right now, we're not sure if we're going to have that, but if you remember last year, for the majority of the school year, we didn't have busing home anyway. We were able to provide it with the vans, which was not ideal, but possible. So, 3rd to 8th grade, we hope to have at the youth center from 2:30 to 5:30. Again, just as the division allows us to offer more age appropriate programming and direct supervision to the younger participants, it does the same now for our older participants. Their day-to-day is not going to change. They're also going to come in, sit down, have the greeting, be welcomed, have a snack. They're going to transition into homework help and programming. Dinner is going to be served at 5, and then they're going to be transported home again, hopefully on buses, if not in vans. PM programming is going to be for 9th through 12th graders. That's not going to start at 6 anymore. It's going to start at 6:30. What we found last year is that the transition time, with parents being late and having to do, we've got 2 vans, we'll be having to do 3 or 4 runs with the vans. So we weren't getting kids out in time to set up for team programming. So to give our staff that transition time to debrief the shifts, take a break if they're working a double, and to make sure all the kids are home and that we're set up for the teams. It's going to be 6:30 to 9:30 this school year. That way we're going to be able to actually focus on the teams when they come in instead of still cleaning up, rushing around, and they'll actually get the attention that they need. They're also offered snack and dinner when they arrive. We keep it in the kitchen, and they're allowed to have a meal when they come in. And then we close the kitchen at 8 so that staff can clean that up with enough time. We offer occasional programming. We're still struggling to find something that the teams will actually participate in. We bring in a lot of different options, and we're going to continue to bring in a lot of different options. But the teens, you know, they just want a place to hang out and a place that's their own, and they don't necessarily want to be in programming, so I'm gonna continue trying. I'm gonna be there either way. Wednesday nights, we're going to end teen programming at 8 instead of 10 to do an alumni night. So one of the things we've found is that a lot of kids who have graduated either in the last year or the last few years try to come back to the youth center and come in and participate, and even as old as like mid-20s. We're a youth center, not a community center, so it creates this issue of having adults in the center with children. And so to meet that need and to make sure that, you know, our alumni aren't feeling like they're not wanted and feeling like there is nowhere for them to go, we're going to do alumni nights Wednesdays from 8 to 10. When parents register their teens for programming, they're going to have the option of whether or not their teen is allowed to stay for that programming so that we can bypass any issues there. We don't currently offer transportation to the teen programmers, but we did find, we did find that in the winter, participation went down, and it's because it was cold and gross and no one wanted to walk there. So we're looking into possibly doing pickup points and times throughout the winter so that we can offer kids at least a couple hours at the center with some safe transportation. And we'll let you know as that develops. We haven't really finalized it yet. So like I said, one of the things we noticed was limited opportunities for participants once they age out of our program. So I think that having alumni night is going to be really helpful to give a space. I think that it's not going to be an issue to fill up. I think we're really going to get a lot of participation for that. I think it's also a good opportunity for teens to connect with older teens and young adults in the community in a meaningful and safe way. Yeah, and give the opportunity to our alumni to have a space where they can feel welcome and feel like they're making a difference too. And again, parents will decide whether or not their teen is allowed to come to that so that we don't have issues there. The other thing that we're implementing this year is we have a lot of community members, even that, you know, don't have a history at the youth center, that want to come and use the youth center, that are looking for ways to participate in like group sports and things like that. So we're going to have community days on Sundays. They're going to be from 10 to 1 at the youth center. We've got it scheduled out for staffing. We're still working on an activity schedule. So we know that basketball, badminton, and indoor soccer are really big asks of the community. So there's going to probably be a schedule that rotates through those, whether or not it's like 2 hours of one, 2 hours another the same day, or if it rotates week to week. We haven't finalized yet, but we'll update that when we have a plan. We'll probably do it quarterly so that we have, you know, opportunities to shift it as we need to. We're also going to update the fee schedule because right now it's $5 to participate, but if we're doing it every week, that feels like a bit much. So maybe knocking it down to $2 or like $3 to residents or something. If they're coming every single week and we're getting the numbers, we're going to evaluate that. Another thing that's changing is we are doing completely digital registration now. We found that with all of the different activities that we do, having paper registration for every single one is just too much to manage. It's easier to organize if we're using these registration forms that are online. It automatically goes into a spreadsheet and organizes it for us. And so that's how we're going to move forward with our registration. That's for community, alumni, and volunteer, kids, campers, all of that. We understand it might be difficult, a transition for some of our families. So we've got ways that we can help. We'll have computers and iPads available at the youth center. We've also, we completely digital registration for camp, and we were able to help families register when they have trouble with that by either having them come in or calling them and helping them, walking them through it. So we also updated our forms to allow up to 3 students to be registered on each form. So some families have, you know, more than one child and they're trying to register, and it was a pain for them to go through the registration form 3 or 4 times. And so now you can register each child on the same form, and that's going to save a lot of time too. And they're all going to be posted on our website. And so all of the registration for everything will be there. We don't have the volunteer or the alumni forms up yet, but we will have them there. All right, one more pictureless slide. So our program schedule for after school and teen programming is going to follow the same schedule as the school. For those of you that get that mail with the calendar on it that outlines everything, I made one that outlines it for the youth department. I tried to attach it here and then I couldn't figure out how to put it in here. And then as I was sitting here, I realized I could have just sent it as a separate document, so I'll do that next time. But we're gonna share it with the families. We're gonna have it on our calendar, on our website. And so, holidays, breaks, or inclement weather, and when the school is closed, we will also be closed. For the holiday breaks, we're gonna try and offer some alternative programming, but it won't be regular everyday programming. We're also gonna use that intentionally as training weeks for professional development for our staff, so that we can all stay on the same page and be the best we can be. All right. Sorry, about 30 seconds really set you guys with incorrect standards for this. So this is where some stuff has changed too. I don't know if you guys went outside at all today, but it was pretty stormy. So we had our final field trip of the year scheduled for today to go to Zoom Plume, but has been postponed until Thursday, which seems to be another rainy day as of right now. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, Friday's our camp party, which I'm gonna invite you all to, but we might have half the people as influence, so we'll see. But this year we went on field trips. We didn't go last year or the year before because we were still recovering and testing the waters from the pandemic, making sure everyone was safe. This is the last week of camp. We've had a lot of fun. We went to the Via Aquarium with our younger kids. We took everybody bowling. The older kids got to go to Putt and Plus, which is apparently really fun. I didn't go, but we worked with a lot of amazing programmers. We partnered with Got Game Sports, Beautiful Racket, Bindlestiff Circus, Claremont, Flying Deer, the Fireman's Museum, Sky High Farms, CLC, and the Hudson Area Library, as well as our very own bike co-ops, offer a lot of amazing experiences to our campers. And one thing that I don't have in here, but I just want to take a moment to say is having the school as an inclement weather site has been really, really amazing and really helpful. And I want to say thank you to everyone at the school, from the custodians, the teachers, the admin, the office staff. Everyone's been so welcoming and they've communicated really well and they've helped us with whenever we've been there. And it's been really, really nice. Hopefully they let us back next year. Now there's just going to be a bunch of photos because I felt bad about the lack of photos. So this is one of the field trips we took to the Fireman's Museum. We did a few trips, but this one was to learn about gold leafing. So the kids got the gold leaf, their own books, bring them back, and she really enjoyed that. This is the trip to bowling in Catskill. That was a lot of fun. Apparently none of us are going to do professional bowlers stuff. So we went to the aquarium, the aquarium. I didn't even know there was an aquarium that close. It was pretty cool. A lot of touching of fish, which I didn't enjoy, but the kids really did. And then just more photos of summer camp, just all the things we did. I couldn't choose what to share and what not to share. And one of my favorite things about camp is a lot of our counselors are kids that have gone through Oakdale summer camp previously, and they want to come back and they want to create that experience for our kids that are now going. And they all have a lot of fun, and it's really nice to watch them. Like our counselor who held abroad and was like very blown away by it, and it's a great experience. So I'm just a few more photos on the next time. Some more. So yeah, it's been a great summer. We're already planning next summer because that's what we have to do. So and I'll let you guys know about the party on Friday. We're also bringing back youth soccer this fall. We just put registration out today. We've been doing just skills and drills for the last couple of years because participation was low, but now we think we're going to get enough kids to do games too. So we'll still do skills and drills for the younger kids, the K through 2, and then we'll do games with teams at 3rd, 4th grade and teams at 5th and 6th grade, and they'll have practices. We really, really, really need coaches. So if you know anyone who loves soccer or maybe played when they were younger and wants to come back and coach, Dominic, that would be, something we would help. So
Is there a doctor on staff?
everybody's trained in first aid. So. And then you can just scan this code here to register, or you can find the registration on our website. Almost done. Hotel lifeguard appreciation. So summer is almost over. A lot of our guards are in school, whether they're in college or they are in high school. A lot of kids do fall sports when they're going back. Some of our guards you won't see anymore this summer. Like Zion, one of our lead guards for the past few years, he's already gone. He's going to grad school. He was an amazing help, but now he is going on living his life. So I don't think he's going to be back next summer. But he's the guard who had the one rescue this year too, so. So thank the guards when you see them. They've done an amazing job this year. I'm really grateful to all of them for being there, and I've got great news on the next slide. So this is also one of the things that changed over the weekends. We are going to be open all the way through Labor Day, which has been a goal for a while to get us back to that. The staff that is going to be guarding until Labor Day is staff that's like coming back on the weekends from college or working around their other work schedules or their fall sports schedules. So they're really putting their best effort to make sure that it can be open as much as possible. And so the official hours are from August 12th to September 4th now, because that's Labor Day, every day from 10 to 6, which is a very important piece of information that I forgot to put on there, 10 to 6. But there are a few days that they could not staff. So Friday the 25th, Tuesday the 29th, Thursday the 35th, and the 31st, Friday the September 1st. So we'll update you about those and remind you about those on our Oakdale Instagram page, which is there on the bottom. I think that's it.
Okay, questions? 50.
So I'm very happy how much the space is getting utilized for all these groups. It's fantastic. What is the ratio of how many aides or how you call them? Per
Yeah.
group you have?
In the older groups, it's 1 to 10, and the younger groups, we're doing 1 to 6.
And is there going to be at the alumni night? There's going to be the teens, right? And the alumni or what?
If the teams are
Yeah.
approved to stay.
And will they be also aides too? Or how?
Yeah, the rec attendants are gonna stay every time, so, yeah.
They're gonna be charged. Is there gonna be fee for them?
Right now, there's not a plan to have a fee. That's gonna be for the community night. This says specifically for alumni, so the kids that are, still in the area that don't have anywhere else to go, we're giving them an option to go there.
So they were only gonna touch the resident.
Or Hudson School District, because the youth center is open to the whole school district, so for anybody that has been coming, it's gonna be welcome back.
So on. All the staff is certified first aid or?
The majority of our staff currently is, we are going to have incremental training because Alvin and I are both now certified to offer that training, the first aid CPR training. So that is a mandate moving forward. We're gonna make sure that all of our staff receive it within the first few months of their employment.
Yeah, I think because you handling the kids and stuff, I think.
There's always at least 2 staff that have a certification currently, and then there will be more.
Okay, any questions from the public?
Margaret.
Oh. Sure.
Let's turn it on.
Oh. Oh, there we go. Margaret? You have a question?
No, I just wanted to let you know that after much difficulty, I did join around 6:10. I had to upload, I had to upgrade my Zoom thingy. So I just wanted you to know that I am in attendance. And Liz, thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got 5 pound deduction.
Okay, any other questions or comments or announcements from presidents?
I'm only half here if you want to.
What that?
So I'm only half here in case you need.
20%.
No. Why don't you stick around for when we get to the resolution related to your thing, okay?
Great.
Okay, is Nia on,
Yeah, won't be here tonight.
she won't be there, okay. So up next is Heather.
Hello, everybody. I want to apologize because I usually have a document that I can share. I thought I sent it to my personal email and I did not. So I will make sure that that gets distributed to everybody tomorrow. But in the meantime, I think I have remembered most of the key points that I wanted to make. It's not going to be 30 seconds, but it's not going to be Liz length either.
That's fine, it's August.
So, generally we look at parking revenues and building and plumbing permits, as it has continued to be, most things continue to be in line. The one outlier continues to be parking tickets, which we've discussed at length last time. And, we're looking for new staff on that. They're about between 45 and 50% of the total year's number versus where we would like to be, which is at about 58%, because that's where we are throughout the year. I don't have this technically in this report because we did not recognize it until August, but we did get our second quarter sales tax number. So I wanted to share that with you. It was 560,000. To put that in perspective, our second quarter last year was about 547,000. So flat-ish, 2% increase, which is good. And in line with our budget. So that's all good news as well. I also did a rough estimate on lodging tax year to date, which we haven't talked about for a little while. Right now, the estimate, which we will have firm numbers on for next month, but right now it's looking at roughly 260,000 through July. And to put that in perspective, at this point in time, a year ago, we were at 240K. So again, about a 10% increase. So that's looking good. Let's see. We've talked about the fact that we need a new auditor. We did issue the RFP. We've requested that the responses be submitted by this Friday, the 11th. So obviously, the sooner that we can get those reviewed and one of them approved would be great. And just operationally, in addition to the things that continue to be on the list, including the single federal audit, which still needs to be taken care of, and the audit RFP that we just discussed, we also will be quite busy in the fourth quarter of this year because, as you know, not only do we approve new general ledger software and water sewer billing software and eventually tax billing software, we're also looking to convert our payrolls provider. So all of that work's going to be done in the fourth quarter. Payroll specifically, we're targeting for a 1/1 launch. So it ties in with all of the financial recordings and the tax and state recordings that we need to do that surround payroll. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, any questions from the council members? Any questions from the public? Okay, Heather, short and sweet, thank you. Okay, next up.
Sorry, you're welcome. I muted myself early. I apologize. You're very welcome.
Okay. Lieutenant Miller. You're up next.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Now, is there something to beat here? 'Cause I wasn't here. 30 seconds? I can do it. No?
Sean set a new record tonight.
Yeah, but I want to beat, I want to beat it though.
We got 25. I didn't speed is Bill.
Yeah, there's. All right, the section 9 reporting, I sent all of you guys, you have a copy. I'll just roughly or briefly go through it here. We had one use of force for July, and it was, if you guys recall from last time, we had a play call involving a stabbing, and one of our officers had to use his own OC spray. So that was one. We had 28 arrests in July with 54 total charges. We had 9 mental health calls, and we had 0 overdoses and 0 deaths or administered Narcan. So we had 0 of that, which was nice for July. We did our body worn camera reviews. Nothing out of the ordinary to report on that. Everything seemed pretty normal. Just to kind of give you some of the stuff we did in July. We had the neighborhood watch program with Pastor Kim Singleton back on July 11th. That was a nice event. That was good, and we were done with that. We also had a tenant appreciation party at Bliss Towers that we attended, and we gave away some bikes, and that was good. And I guess there's something coming up. I don't know if you guys know the Hudson family reunion party coming up in September. It's an event. Anyway, our PBA donated $1,000 to that event, and that's going to be at the waterfront. Just to give you another, on July 20th, we had a gun incident where someone shot themselves in the leg. To give you an update, he's out of the hospital, but we will be charging him. There is felony arrest. He'll be getting gun charges for that. And also what we have, a lot of our resources, our manpower this week is for the Jamal Brando trial that's going on. What that was, it was a case back in 2019. We charged him with rape So that's just something currently we're working on this week where a lot of us got subpoenaed and we'll be dealing with that, just so you know. And other than that, that's about it.
Thank you. Questions from council members? Vicky?
I was going by the intersection Sixth and Columbia, where the farmers market is going on, and it seems rather congested with pedestrians, not as safe. I was wondering if you can review it with the commissioner. Maybe we can have a crosswalk or no turn on red or something.
6 in Columbia.
Yes, please.
Oh, I also wanted to know, we started our parking enforcement officer applications and interviews. So we started that last week and we had some interviews today. And also for our police civil service exam, we have 24 people signed up for that, just something to know. And yeah, we will work on that and see what we can do.
Council members? Anything? Public? Any questions? Liz?
I don't have a question, but, police officers have been spending time at Oakdale, hanging out with the kids, where we were playing basketball, so I just want to say thank you for that. It was nice to have that relationship and that, all those officers there, so, thank you.
Or anything any good?
Solid enough. All right, I will tell the guys. Thank you.
And then, when we have our party on Friday, you guys, if they stop by, if they're available, we'll be throughout the campus. Way better than 17.
Yeah.
Got a award. My team won last year, okay? Just let you know that.
You know, I wanted to make the 30-second thing, but you guys are not.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Rob. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Just gonna grab your share. Okay. So we've had quite a bit of rain, as everybody's aware of, and you know, if it was, you know, gentle, mild rain, it'd be one thing, but it's been kind of torrential, and you'll hear that theme, you know, kind of recur a couple times throughout this discussion. Anyway, so the bar screens, they're about 25 feet tall, probably about 8 feet wide, and this is a picture of one of them partially submerged. You can see the flow going through here. You know, this is the front line of the treatment process. It grabs the largest things, the stones, the rocks, the bricks, everything over ½ an inch size. It's also designed to grab the leaves and any of those things that could, you know, all the things that would do the most damage to the processes as they go along. You know, and this is kind of a close-up. These are mostly rocks that are jammed in here, and you know, it gives you an idea of the force that's coming through the plant, that rocks can be jammed into pieces of high-grade aluminum, and it's actual physical work to bang and clear the stuff out to get the racks back in working order. So you know, that's part of the process. We also we received our annual inspection this spring, and so it was generally very well. We did find there were some comments from DEC, but the comments don't really pertain to the operations. They deal more with some things out in the system. So one of these things was, number one, department provided correspondence regarding sewer extension requests. This is something you're going to start hearing about more and more. It's been on the books for a very long time, but apparently it hasn't been enforced not only in the city of Hudson by the Hudson Planning Board, but by no other planning boards. And certain size projects are required to apply for a sewer extension if they're over 2,500 gallons a day, and if they're over so many connections. So basically, your larger, your larger projects. That has created a number of issues, as you can imagine, because one, we're not in the process of and the DEC is kind of given us guidance that they want the city to apply for these sewer extensions. Well, you know, that we're not in the habit of conducting engineering work on behalf of private developers, nor should we be. But DEC is kind of being adamant about this because they have to deal with all of New York State now with these applications, and they want it coming from the municipality. So, you know, I've been dealing with Andy Howard, who's been talking to planning board attorney and their engineer, you know, trying to figure out how best to to move this process through, but there's going to be a separate permit review process by the DEC for most development projects in Hudson going forward. Just like everywhere else, where you can have more than 2,500 gallons a day isn't a whole lot. So just giving you kind of a heads up of that. Number 2 is about outfall 5. This one is actually below. It's in this. Yes.
Sorry, nothing wrong.
Okay. Outfall 5 is actually, part of the old remnants of this original system. It's in the slip that's just below Rick's Point, and there's no flow going through it unless there happens to be extremely high wet weather. It is a permitted CSO, but in this instance, the regional, I don't know what he would be called, not administrator. Well, anyway, it's Jamie Malcolm. He couldn't visualize the edge of the pipe, wanted us to clear it back. So it's not, if we're going to do that. If it works, that's fine. But I have a feeling that the pipe is actually below the water level. So I have reached out to Detective Piro, who's also in the fire department, and see if the dive team can't give us some assistance documenting what it looks like under the water. This third one is in reference to the 2 pump station projects that we did of Power Avenue and Mill Street. And so the goal is that by upgrading those 2 pumps, that we would eliminate their CSO connections, which would physically prohibit them from having CSOs. The issue is that we've had a couple, although we weren't having like the 20 or 30 that we would normally see, we have had 1 or 2, especially given these heavy rains. So we're not sure if it's still an overflow issue or if it's a high water issue, because these are both, in the lower parts of the city. If it's an issue of the river and the bay backing up into and causing the overflow. So what we're going to propose is plugging the systems, and that would prevent any flow from going either way. And then we'll see how everything operates, and if that develops some kind of a model that if it works, it works, and then we can permanently disconnect and abandon the CSOs 9 and 7. There was the last out was 06 is basically that discharge pipe that's in that ravine between the fire station and Central Fire Station in Oakdale. And so, we had permit 10 years ago. We extended some pipe, put some fill in there, because it's really, the ravine itself is pretty dangerous, the fact that it's so steep and everything. So the goal was extend the pipe through there and then put clean fill down from our streets and excavations, and then, grade it off. And we were doing that again last year, but with all the heavy rain, some of it washed out, covered the front of the pipe. We added a couple sections. So now it's, past that, but basically this is them telling us that they want it cleaned up. So we're going to, we've given them, which segues into this, put together this diagram. It's basically adding another 60 feet of pipe, a catch basin that'll help structurally reinforce everything behind it, give something new for this new sections of pipe to tie into. Then we'll just push the fill down onto it, grade it off, and seed it, and clean it all up. There'll be fresh riprap down the bottom. So that'll be a project that's we've ordered the base and the structure. That's got like an 8-week lead time, so it'll probably be a fall project.
Hey Rob, where is that again?
That's that ravine that's between the parking lot at Oakdale and the where we dump the snow dump by the Central Fire Station, right across the street from you.
I was just, sorry, I'll ask at the end. Oh, let you finish.
No, you can go.
I was gonna say, just on the topic of like erosion opening up ravines right off of Harry Howard coming into the city, that sort of going up to 5th Street, that sort of grown over grassy area. Do you know what I'm referring to? It used to be a street and now it's just grass. What's that? Yeah, there's a drainage pipe place there that over like the past few weeks, I walk that hill quite a lot, and erosion has taken away quite a bit of the hill. It seems like the water is just going around the pipe. So I think with the amount of rain, it might be good just to get some eyes on that before it gets any worse. There's more like official reporting, but I figure you're
No,
in here and can tell you.
This is plenty official. You're good. I'll talk to my foreman about it tomorrow.
Yeah, I just noticed, I was like, every time I walk up, it feels a little bit bigger than last time.
Because of all the rain.
Yeah, it's just going right around the pipe.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Also sewer related, when we did the stormwater separation project last year, we had two funding sources, well, three funding sources. One was the city. One was a CBG grant from a community development block grant from homes and community renewal. It was $750,000. That one had zero local share. And so we closed out everything last fall. We had some monitoring to make sure that we did all the paperwork and documentation. They says no findings. Finds that we did everything, within the requirements. So that's a good sign. Just because, it's a good sign, but also it helps us with future grant applications to show that, we kind of get it. So switching to water, we did do some hydrant flushing. This, we usually do it a couple times a year. And essentially what we do is we open one hydrant at the bottom of the city. There's 3 different nights and there's 3 different sections, basically south, middle, and north. And once that one is open at the bottom, we open the hydrants starting at the top. So this is up on Worth Avenue, I believe. And we crack it open for about 5 minutes. What happens is, you have, I don't want to say it's scaling, but you have water in contact with iron. And, so the minerals do react with each other and, they tend to stay in suspension. And this is just a way to, when we do this high flow, it kind of scarifies them, it gets them out and throws them out onto the street. The water, gets a little, you can see this is a little discolored. That was, had probably been running for about 30 seconds and 4 minutes later, it's pretty clean. We shut it off, we go down to the next one and we do this. We usually go through about 300,000 gallons a night for flushing. And then it's over. So we did conclude that we didn't have any major issues. It's also a way to mechanically observe that the hydrants do work, they're functioning. If any of the hydrants have issues, then they make note of it and we go to repair it, which leads us to this hydrant. So this was down along the Hall Road, between the Hall Road and the tracks. It's the southernmost hydrant in the city. And when the guys went down to open that, they literally found it on the other side of the street standing up. So what appears to happen is somebody was, showboating down there, came near the tracks and turned a hard left, like to do whatever, maybe a donut or something like that, clipped across this hydrant and dragged it across the Hall Road. And then obviously came to a stop, backed up and just stood the hydrant up like nothing happened, and they must have some serious damage to their car. Because these things, it takes a lot of force to break them, and and they're heavy. They're like 600 pounds each. So, anyway, so that one, we have to repair it, obviously. Also with water, so last year we applied. The EPA has put in rules saying that they want cities like us to have an inventory of all the lead service lines. We have a good idea that most of the old building stock has it, but they want an actual inventory. So they put out an opportunity. We applied for it. This is 100% paid. There's no local share. This is for a lead service line inventory, and our grant award is $250,000. So the next thing to do is, we put together a plan for how to identify it. We'll be checking records first, tap book. We'll see, which services have been upgraded in the last, 15, 20 years, because obviously there's no lead there. And then at some point, we're going to have to actually start going to residents to verify what is and what is not in place. So it's going to take a while. Like you said, we have all of the remainder of this year and all of next year. And that's just the standard agreement. So, but that just give you an idea, that's something that's forthcoming. You'll be hearing more about. Blacktop. This is just seasonal DPW work. You'll see This is down on Third and Long Alley. We did some work there. You can see this is from the top down, cleaning that up. Paul Avenue, this is by the cemetery. It's Paul Avenue again. We also have, this is on Columbia Street, the 500 block. You know, we were trying to, you know, some gatering along the side here, which was, you know, making the water kind of shortcut the short circuit the catch basin. So we brought that up to grade. I think one of these is out of order here. Anyway, this is down the Amtrak lot. We sent the Miller down to groove off some of the sections that were in pretty bad shape. Sweeper picks it up. We put the blacktop down. I'm trying to make it too dizzy here. And then the roller comes up. So these are the first pass, second pass, third pass goes up the middle. The other just routine maintenance, you know, taking care of our equipment. You know, this is one of the big dump trucks that's involved with all the materials, but most importantly for plowing snow in the winter time. And so just, you know, giving that some TLC. You know, we talked about heavy rains, so there you go. This was one of that Sunday morning event that was a couple weeks ago where we got about 2 inches of rain in 14 minutes. It was crazy. So, you know, you didn't realize that when we built Promenade Hill, we actually installed a waterfall, but the good news is you can see the water going evenly across the stone. So everything is nice and graded well and pitched right. So, you know, that's nice to know. Then it pooled down here and then it went into the basin. So this leads me to my last event, which is kind of a little bit of big news. Last Thursday, the mayor and I were contacted from DOT, and we have received permission to proceed with construction of the Ferry Street Bridge. So the review process is officially over. We have their blessing. The next steps are our engineer is putting in all the specific contract date work and all of the other niceties that have to go out in the formal bid. They're working on that this week. We expect to put it out either later this week or next week. Right now we anticipate a bid opening of Thursday, September 14th, and that will take place on the Central Fire Station. And between that point and, you know, we could have done it a week earlier, but the week earlier is Labor Day week, and so we gave another week. That saying, you know, I'll be working just forming up our numbers with the treasurer and DOT to make sure all the multiple funding sources that we have are in place. So that way, when we open, we hopefully will have something that's within our funding stream. And at that which point next September's meeting, formal meeting, we'll be presenting the council with a resolution to authorize the contract and proceed with the work. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Rob. Rob, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
At the truck meeting, a question came up about CHIPS money and how that works. And what's the project that we're working on currently with CHIPS money? Is it Robinson Street next?
So this year, we have a bid out in the streets already. It's Washington's, the 500 block of Washington Street where we put the water main in and the services last year, and Franklin Street. We're also doing Upper Columbia Street from the city town line down to State Street, and also Fairview Extension from the intersection of Fairview up to Columbia. So that's you know, with, you know, crosswalks and ADA ramps, we'll probably run about 600,000.
And we get that roughly every 2 years?
No, we get appropriations every year, but they roll over. So we, as a city, we do it every other year because there's a tremendous amount of like back work that has to get done. We have to go around and dedicate about 2 to 3 months of work just doing the catch basins, the manholes in the intended area. So that way all of our infrastructure is kind of, you know, all the things that are in contact with the road are brought up to, you know, a new standard. So we don't want to put a new road over top of something that's broken. And then we go from there. As far as specifically, you know, there's CHIPS, there's Paved New York, there's Extreme Winter Recovery, there's state touring routes. They're all kind of the same animal, but they all have different requirements and different rules and what applies and what doesn't apply. Some things you can purchase equipment with, some things you can't. Other things like the STR money that we have, our reading of it is that that can be applied towards bridge decking. So, you know, there's $2 million there that we're basically keeping as a reserve for the Ferry Street Bridge because we don't have any idea really where the price is going to come in. You know, we did sign the amend our agreement last month with the agreement that you guys slid through. So we brought that, we added another $1.5 million to that, but we want to make sure that we've got money in hand. Other than that, the low tech answer is this, whatever the repair is, it has to last 10 years. And it can't happen on a street, you know, that had the same work done within 10 years. So there's supposed to be like a, you know, there's a kind of that window. Is it, how hard and fast is it? I don't know. I mean, I've never heard of anybody, you know, getting hauled off by the CHIPS police, but that's the general rule of thumb. That's what we're supposed to, that's how we're supposed to validate it to DOT.
Thank you. Another question about this DEC requirement that you mentioned early on. I got a call, something about an August 15th deadline. Did that ring a bell? Were we supposed to?
Yeah, so what happened in that report that I showed you right up here?
Right.
It says somewhere,
We had to give a list.
that's what it says. They want, please note, we want a list of all the projects that apply on or before August 15th. So,
Okay.
you know, so that's, you know, we have to have a discussion with the planning board because, you know, DPW, the planning board doesn't work for DPW. I don't have any authority over them. But honestly, none of us do. They're an independent body. You know, Tom, you know that better than anybody. And so, you know, we have to rely on their counsel, their consultant to inform us of what projects qualify for this, break this threshold. And the other requirement is they didn't want anything that's previously approved but doesn't have a certificate of occupancy, which, you know, is another thing that, you know, I don't know as part of the as DPW. So that's the information we have to get from code enforcement. So which I understand that John Weedman, whose name is there, is the one who's putting that list together. He has to provide that list to us so that we can reply back by August 15th to DEC with it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council members?
Yes, yes, Tom, I have my hand raised.
Okay, I can't do that, but okay, go ahead, Margaret.
Yeah, so Rob, thank you very much. I'm trying to get a handle on, and I know you and I had talked about the CHIP money, and I talked to Heather about it and how that works. Could you provide maybe a map of it explicitly, and I'm talking just about the CHIP money, which, as I understand it, is about the access highways, which roads that money is being spent on. I may be wrong about that, but exactly where, you know, I know that I do understand that for efficiency, you establish a strategy every 2 years to look at various stretches of road. But can you give us, I personally, a graphic would be really helpful, but could we look at like a map of exactly which roads are being upgraded based using the CHIP money? Because I'm looking at the access highways that come in on 9th and Worth and then go up through Fairview, and then I'm looking at 9G coming in onto 3rd, and where are the CHIP monies being spent on those routes?
Well, they've already been spent on those roads. Fairview Avenue was done probably 2013. Green Street was done, upper portion was done the same time. We just did the lower portion of Green Street 2 years ago. The whole section of 3rd Street's been done. The Worth Avenue has not. Upper Warren Street has. That was done, I think, maybe in 2011, and Park Place was done maybe 4 years ago. So, you know, outside of the only sections of the at this stage, the only sections that haven't been done are Columbia Street between 6th and 3rd. And that's, you know, the portions between 3rd and 5th haven't been done because there's this ancient stone sewer that keeps collapsing. And I can't very well tell DOT that we repave the 300 block of Columbia Street, that it's gonna last 10 years, when I know the next time it rains, it's gonna collapse.
No, understood. But there's a portion of Worth that has not been done, correct?
Right, I haven't done Worth in the last 10 years for sure.
Is that on the agenda?
No, is there an issue with Worth that I don't know about?
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to get a map.
Let me explain. I'll tell you that this is a very low-tech game. It's basically my foreman and we identify which roads are in the worst shape, and those are the, you know, and we kind of have discussions with water and sewer as like we tie it in with construction projects, what might happen, and then we go from there. You know, like Robinson isn't really that good. We're doing some milling and paving, we're patching it. I'd like to do that with CHIPS money, but we've also applied for a grant to put a new water main and water services in. So I wouldn't do that knowing that we have this other opportunity that's out there. So those are that's really the kind of the decision matrix that's there. It's what's in the worst condition, and you know, what can we tie into other projects, or what else is in our future, you know, the next 2 years, 4 years that we foresee.
I guess what I'm asking you is not that I have an opinion on which, because I know even less about this than you. It's not like I have an opinion about which roads should or should not be done. I'm just trying to understand, like, if I were to look at the roads, I just want to know which ones are being done and which ones are being done with CHIP money. I just would like some kind of information on that. If maybe you could take it offline and we could meet and you could just lay out for me what the plan is. I just want to understand what we're doing. That's all.
Okay.
Great idea. Take it offline, and thank you, Rob. Unless there's anybody else with questions? Okay, thank you again, Rob.
All right.
Okay, we have a couple other presentations. Right now, Kelly Crimmins is here to talk about the project. There's no resolution involved. But she's just gonna introduce this project and answer questions. Michael has some visual accompaniment to go with it.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm here just as myself tonight, so I'm not connected to any organization unlike before, but I'm actually excited, and thanks Liz for staying, because I've been talking with Michael and Liz and Peter Frank at Oakdale, and it's cool that you guys got to hear about Oakdale being activated, because this is a proposal to have a vendor, which would be me, and mobile saunas at Oakdale starting after camp would end. So depending on when the vendor license agreement would be passed, that's when it would begin, but probably for 4 to 5 months. So after Labor Day. The general overview, and I'm happy to take questions. Let's just get through all the information, is that there'd be 2 wood-fired saunas that are on utility trailers. So they're able to be moved in and out of the property very quickly. They would be for rent by pre-booking for only 5 months. So it's a seasonal vendor license agreement. The hours would be Friday through Monday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. I know there's a little bit of a question that the lawyers are looking into about the hours of the park and how that would work. So that might be a follow-up, but there's only 6 people per sauna, and the saunas would be attended at all times that the business were operated. And I'll go into more about like lifeguard, all that stuff. This is the schematic. So the 2 saunas would be, there's a window on each side, but they would be like facing the water. And then there would be a small little greenhouse, collapsible greenhouse for the staff and for some changing areas, because I'm not a city employee and we don't want to subject Liz or any of her staff or put strain on the youth department to sit in the building. But that's just a way for us to have a little landing pad that's completely removable. And then we're looking into the water, but if need be, like we can set up a small mobile shower, like a camping shower that people can also utilize if they can't already utilize the water that's there on the side of the building. Go to the next one. These are just elevations and plans of the saunas that have also been a more detailed drawing has actually been submitted to Craig and been reviewed by the code enforcement department, which I'll also go into later, but just to give you one detail that I think is important to point out is that the firebox where the fire would be loaded is actually on the outside of the sauna, so the attendants are the only people that would be touching the fire, which is helpful for, we don't want anyone who's in there to be dealing with wood or fire. And there's also a small barricade around the stove, like a safety barricade. I'll also go into the ADA because both of them have ramps, but one of them is completely ADA accessible and you can even have a wheelchair go in if needed for the person that's attending. So like I said, the saunas are going to be supervised at all times. They'll be locked and the fire will be put out at the end. You're not allowed, any occupant or guest won't be able to touch the fire. The water safety, we've been speaking with Liz and Peter and other people's concerns. One of the staff members will always be lifeguard certified. In fact, we talked about if some of the lifeguards that work at Oakdale that want to have winter work, we could have them be one of the staff, but I'll be lifeguard certified, and CPR. Next slide, please. So that's the same thing, but so yes, I talked about the ADA, but one of this, like I said, they'll both have ramps up to the door because they're on trailers, it is slightly elevated, but then one is completely ADA accessible. So meaning like the doorway and the being able to turn around completely in the thing. I know nudity has been an issue at Oakdale before. I'm a fifth ward member, or I live in the fifth ward, so bathing suits would be required to comply with the beach and state regulations. And then you have to be 18 or older to use the sauna. And I will circulate this when the agreement comes out, but I have a waiver that everyone has to sign before they pre-book that touches on a lot of this stuff. So I will also be insured, the city will not be liable because I will have a liability policy for my business that's up to $2 million as well. And then I know there will be no alcohol or drugs on site, and the people who are booking this will have to sign a waiver acknowledging that that's not allowed. There's no, because the hours will be the same as the park roughly, there shouldn't be a noise issue and there won't be any music, playing. It's supposed to be a leisure activity that's supposed to promote relaxation and access to wellness that doesn't really exist in this area, to be honest, unless you want to pay $400. But also the saunas have been built completely to residential code. Craig Haig we've talked twice, and he was going to reach out to you guys after I present this, but so far he has not seen any issue with these, and also that they really don't fall under the jurisdiction, or there's no issue in the code as of right now. And he will be reaching out, but it's been submitted to his office. Yeah, I'm just really excited about the idea to have the space be activated after camp ends, and also just that we don't have a why, we don't have ways for the community to access this kind of recreational activity. So I'm excited about the idea that this is happening at Oakdale.
So this is just a preliminary discussion. There's no resolution yet. There may be by next week. Is that possible?
Yeah.
So we might have a resolution, so it's important to talk now. I don't know who's first. Ryan?
I'm just gonna say congrats for coming with something original and cool, and that hasn't been done, like, hold on.
Thank you.
Okay. Vicky, do you have an actual question?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's a brilliant use of like,
Yeah.
off-peak doing something. So well done.
Yes, I have two questions. Will you be renting the land or the space from Oakdale, or is there gonna be any lease?
Vicky has some
And
dates
my-
in mind. but-
And my second question is, will you be charging people, like if there's gonna be a fee?
Yeah. So the lease is very similar to the lease that has come through the council for Hudson Paddles. So it's a vendor lease agreement. So I pay a
monthly fee,
monthly
yeah.
fee to the city. And then it's $25 a person, and we'll have times where we'll have private booking times, meaning like. There'll be blocks of time where up to 6 people can book for the whole, it's an hour and 45-minute session. You could book a group, but then there will be like community open hours where you can book a time slot, but you just won't be able to control who's there with you.
So $25 for how long?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Really good.
You can be there that long.
Yeah, for your appointment, it's an appointment. I mean, so a lot of in the sauna culture, the idea is that like you go in, you go out, you go back in. So the idea is to be, I mean, you could leave in 15 if you want, but you still have to pay 25 to come. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Great idea.
That hotel employee gonna stay, if they stay, they're gonna get reimbursed or what? I mean.
They would be her employee. No, they would be an employee of my company.
I-
It was just, it was just something that came up was like, oh, maybe some of the lifeguards would be interested in working also winter hours. If they are, because there are some people coming back from school and who are interested.
Dominic,
How much smoke does it spit out? In the air?
In the air, it should be the same amount as like a wood stove in a home,
Yeah, it's low, right? Wood stove in home is higher.
Right.
Chimney. So
yeah.
This is gonna be more lower in residential areas.
I think that I can look into exactly what the output is, but I know that they're supposed to be highly efficient, like burning, so I don't think it should be like. Very smoky, and obviously I wouldn't want to use wet wood, so I assume that the smoke will be minimal.
Yeah, it's like in a modern wood stove that's like properly sealed and insulated, it's like nearly smokeless with dry hardwood.
And is the space that you're using in Oakdale, is that gonna be rented space from the city? Is
Yeah.
that the goal?
So that's the lease, the license agreement with the vendor, it's a monthly fee for the to be there, similar to Hudson Paddles, who's the, what is it, paddle? Yes,
And it's gonna be by the water or up? Where is-
On the beach.
I
On the
think by
beach.
water,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but so
so
it's
it's not gonna be on the level, it's gonna be lower. It's not gonna be on the residential level.
well, there will still be access to the beach for all emergency vehicles, like anything that was accessible during the time of camp will remain accessible because it's sort of more off to the left side of the beach. It's in the area of the beach that doesn't get utilized much, even if people.
So you're gonna haul every day, like, bring it. put it
No,
in.
it would live there for the duration of the vendor agreement, so the off, so it would, but then it'll leave. But it can leave, I know that, Peter Frank had reached out about if there is an event or for some reason the beach needed to be utilized, it can be removed within a day.
And are the saunas emergency vehicle accessible?
Yeah,
What's the purpose of having a lifeguard on staff?
that's really because in case there were some kind of, so people are allowed, if there's a lifeguard, to go into the water to cold plunge after they sauna, the idea is you get really hot and then you plunge into cold water, so if there was an incident, we would want someone who just is lifeguard certified.
But don't you need, won't you need a permit from the Department of Health to do that?
Yeah. I don't believe so, we can check,
I think anything with beach being open and the city has to have a permit.
I will look into it. I reached out to the Department of Health and I actually have a letter saying that they don't have any jurisdictions over saunas or their use, but.
No, yes, no,
Yeah.
but the waterfront, because that's the same thing with campus. Yeah, right. For their beach permit.
Okay.
So I don't know if this, this is a little different than the photo that was submitted to, right? Are you one that submitted the photo too?
No.
414 state?
oh, no, that was a mistake.
Okay. All right.
That'll come up.
It said her name, that's why I was
I
wondering.
know, it was a mistake.
Okay.
It was, I think, corrected before the meeting.
Not before I looked.
No, I caught it around 4 o'clock, so probably I didn't look.
Thank you.
Anything else, public? Can't see right now. There we go. Anybody else? Questions for Kelly? Okay, thank you, Kelly. I hope you have a resolution. The next one, Michael, could you bring up the pictures for 414? This is something in process where I want to get your opinion about or let you know about what's going on. Without pictures. There's property at the house on 414 State.
I know very well.
Right, you live there?
My grandmother's old store.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And I used to.
Okay. So. There's the house. Now, look at, maybe I'll, better if I stand and show you what's going on here. I'll show you. So. Right now. Sidewalk goes right next to the house, right there. Okay, the city owns. Well, the city owns this green space here. Yeah.
And the sidewalk around it, right? There's a
Oh,
sidewalk.
not go around it, the sidewalk goes through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it goes through it, but there's also a patch here. Right?
Where are you talking about?
On the corner,
Oh,
right?
on the corner, yes,
Yeah.
okay. So, go back, thank you. So what the new owners of the building would like to do is purchase a piece of land next to the house and have the sidewalk go around with the curb. I think there's a sketch of that, right? Somewhere? There's the existing one.
Oh, great, I did this video.
Yeah, yeah. On the survey. So here you see it. Instead of instead of the sidewalk going through like that, it would go around like this, and they would purchase this property, and they maintain it as grass and everything.
How much land is there?
I don't know exactly. It should say that on the survey. There doesn't.
You can barely fit both of those.
Yeah. Now, the key to this is we haven't come to an agreement on price yet. It has been appraised. They're willing to, of course, pay all the fees that are involved, because Crystal has been working on this. So all the lawyer's fees were covered. The appraisal came in fairly high for that little piece of land. And they've made a counter offer. Crystal, you want to take over from here, or should we just?
No, sure, I can take over. So yes, the appraisal came in at 15,000, and yeah, and they made a counter offer, and they provided us some comparables to back up their counter offer, which is something that I've gone back to the appraiser just to go over the comparables that have been provided with the appraiser to get their opinion on it. Once those come in, the idea would be to bring it to the council, and the council can make a decision as to whether they want to do a private sale for this section of property. There's an updated survey that is also being done. The prospective purchasers have also provided escrow to cover the cost of both the survey and the appraisal. They've been moving forward with the hope that the council will agree to sell it to them, and that they're paying for all the costs associated with that sale.
Thank you, Crystal. What's that?
How much is the counter offer? They don't put it in there.
I think their counter offer is around 5,000, right?
It is, yes,
And the appraisal is 15?
15.
So that it's being reconsidered with the appraiser, since they've offered some counter.
So is that commercial?
Right? What'd you say?
Is that because, is that a commercial corner? Considered commercial? And
I don't know. Why would that matter?
no, I was just wondering if it was commercial, that's why it's so high.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because it used to be, I know there used to be,
Right.
it used to be the store, and now it's residential.
Yeah.
If it's still zoned commercial, maybe that explains.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember what the zoning was on it. I'd have to check.
Check. Go on,
The 5,000 is everything included or just the property?
just for the property.
And can we counter on it?
Well, I, at some point, yes, but I think that, that's what Crystal's working on right now.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
I think you mentioned that they wanted to kind of just keep it as a grass or whatever.
right.
Is that going to be in the contract? Because I feel like if they're going to maintain it as a green space, they're doing the city a favor. But if they're going to be using it like fenced off, a private cove that they're going to use, then the price should be comparable to that. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. I don't recall, so they plan on fencing it, I don't think they plan on fencing it off.
I don't remember, I don't remember them discussing fencing. I know they talked about cleaning it up and the drainage along the corner there. But that's something that we could further look into and discuss.
I consider that, good point, Ron.
I think it's, yeah, I think if it's unfenced and, it's, currently the city just mows it probably, and if they're gonna put trees and things in there, that's doing the public a favor.
Right. Any other questions? This isn't on the immediate agenda, but I thought we'd start the conversation. Okay, moving right along. We have some resolutions, we have communications. The HPD we talked about earlier. First resolution, Michael. Please. Okay, appointing commissioners of these. Do I have an introduction? Introduce Arthur. A second. Oh, me. Go on. Okay, we'll move it fast here now. Here, why don't you- Go on. You and I can take care of that. The next resolution is just the reporting to the state and local employers retirement system. Go on. I'll do it. Okay. The next resolution is to accept donations on behalf of the Hudson Fire Department from Greg and Linda Hacker, Stephen and Nancy Leonard, Lucille and Cheryl Frisk, Nicholas and Tamara Frisk. And we received a check from the county in the amount of $150 for use of the Central Fire Station. I have an introduction as that. Making it very easy. The next is a resolution accepting youth center donations. This is from Michael Altabello for $250. Okay, yeah, it's obviously Arthur and Dewan, in case anybody's wondering out there. Okay. So those four. No, those three. What we got? Four. Okay. 1 second. Okay, the next resolution is authorizing the execution of the facilities use agreement for the youth department activities. Do I have an introduction? One second, Arthur. Okay.
What is that?
This is the contract for the youth center.
But you go to the church.
They go to the church.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay, hold on, let me do this first, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
Discussion, I knew there would be. Dominic, did you want to say anything?
No, I've been speaking with Liz and Michael earlier. I think we're really threading on a thin line. Because it's not ADA compliant. And in my research after speaking with Michael and Liz, I understand where Michael was coming from with his interpretation of offering programs. The programs have to be apple to apple. So if you can't offer an apple to apple programs, it's called exclusion. And you're gonna be, it's gonna be exclusionary. So signing this contract, you're gonna exclude children from the program. And, and so I think I gave some alternative suggestions to Liz and Michael, to maybe look into, but I think we should table this until we can get either a confirmation somewhere that this is agreeable, because every research, everything I did and my background, this is not acceptable.
Okay, we don't table things now, we would do that next week.
Well, I'm just.
Yeah, not yet.
Can we have Crystal explain this to us?
I don't, is Crystal going to do it, Michael? I don't think she.
I'm not sure if we've asked.
We can ask Crystal to research this further.
Yeah,
Oh, one at a time. Arthur, sorry. Go ahead.
I think that's my thing, is like, I'm all for it if this is 100%. The city will not be held responsible for some like accessibility results to their question. I mean, is it as simple as,
Louder, please.
is it as simple as the investment into like a $400 ramp into that, where the U-shaped turn is, like the.
No, it's gonna be
second
the
floor.
second floor inside the
And
church.
bathrooms.
Now, Michael, what's this apple to apple? I don't understand what,
So in ADA Title II, the requirements for municipalities is, it basically is that if you look at the programming you offer as a whole, the program has to be accessible. So well, my argument in this case is that the youth center currently is operating a ADA accessible space. So if we're able to offer the identical programming in the accessible location, then it's all right for us to also rent out a space that is not identical, as long as we're able to accommodate for identical programming for any children who would require an accessible space that ADA is up.
so in other words, if a child who had to have accessibility presented themselves, they would be able to go to the existing building,
Right.
not to this.
But that's where it comes to exclusion, that they're being excluded from their peers, because it's not the same program.
Well, wouldn't the program just be offered at the accessible space?
No, because how do you offer, if it's an arts and crafts program, you're gonna say to this child, your disability, you're gonna be in this space, but your peers are gonna be in this space. That's exclusion, that's not inclusion. We promote inclusion, not exclusion. So when I worked for COARC, if there was a space and one was successful, one wasn't, both locations had to have identical programs, identical. So you can go into that program. This program is for K-2. So you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna offer you the same program at the youth center, but it's gonna be with the 3rd and 5th graders. That's not apples to apples. Right.
So is there any way that could be done? That you would split the program?
I mean, we don't have a lot of programmers that come, so the art program we have from the Gen School, we plan on having them be at both locations. Fiddleston is gonna be at both locations. If anything, the kindergarten through second graders aren't gonna have gym access, so they're gonna, which is the second part anyway. So that would be the same. I mean, I do think that it's very important to have the secondary space, to allow that separation. I'm hopeful that we can find a way to make it work. And the plan is to have the programmers at both spots.
Michael, can you take down the?
I understand, I totally agree with the satellite program. But again, we have a DOJ settlement, and in my experience as an advocate, this won't work. And if somebody came to me, there's a good case for involvement in the city. Because of the apples to apples situation. Because you're excluding someone from a location that we're funding.
We're also
Look
providing.
at other locations like the library, I mean, it's already.
Well, my suggestion was, because of the nature of the hours, is maybe using a senior center, in terms of, because you don't know the numbers yet, right? In terms of how many kids, so.
We get at least 20 of that age group usually.
Right. So, or I also, open the door for Liz to have a conversation with St. Mary's, which their first floor, they have a gym and their first floor is ADA compliant, their bathroom's ADA compliant. And they're willing to work with possibility of, renting. So it's
I will say programming starts next month, but I can't put out registration forms. I've been holding on this resolution, so I don't even have anybody registered for the fall right now because I can't put out registration. So, I appreciate.
I sympathize, but we're not gonna shortchange ADA.
I appreciate the idea of finding another place, and at this point, programming starts in a month. So it's gonna be something that's gonna be difficult to even have a discussion in that amount of time.
Margaret, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. In looking at this, I know that's not the intent. And I know that the intent is good. And I think the offer of the space at Christchurch is good. And it's good overall. But it sets up a situation where there's a space for individuals who do not have access needs. And then there's a different space for people who do have needs. And I am not really comfortable with that. I am with Dominic on this. I just think that it potentially sets up two different scenarios, and I think that's problematic. I really do.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Crystal, could you look into this from a legal perspective?
Yeah, I can look into it. I haven't had a chance, I haven't looked at it yet, but I absolutely can.
And
give you
But Tom, the
opinion on it.
question I'm raising is not legal. I'm not raising a legal question.
okay, fine. I wasn't addressing it to you, Margaret. I was
Yeah.
asking-
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm not really raising a legal question. I'm raising a question where are we going to have a
No, we
situation
understand what you're saying.
where people with disabilities are going to go there, and people without disabilities are going to go here. Like that's I know that that's not really in reality land going to happen, but that's kind of what we're potentially setting up here, and I don't like that.
Got it. Okay, so we'll come back to that next week and see if we have any new information.
Can I just ask a
Oh,
quick,
sorry.
just so I understand?
Sorry, I
this
thought we were-
position.
go ahead.
Like, Dominic, you're saying that, if someone, because the Christchurch space is K-2, correct? And then what's the older kids space? Where will they be?
Those will be at the youth center.
They'll still be at the youth center, so someone who had needs in K-2, you know, under this agreement would potentially go to the youth center. And Dominic, your argument, you're saying that those aren't apples to apples.
Right, that's exclusion.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify the position. All right.
I've argued cases like this in the school laws.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Okay, the final resolution, I'm not gonna put forth because, Margaret, because, there is your letter, which is different from the original letter. And it's much better, I think, more sad, but if you told me to put the old resolution on, and the old resolution really doesn't speak to the new version.
Correct. We talked about that earlier. I was away. We had a meeting on Thursday, truck meeting on Thursday, based upon which I revised the letter, which is now in front of you for discussion next week at the regular council meeting. I believe it was a month or 2 months ago, we put all this in front of the council. And there was public comment. We came back, we revised the letter. And I think I need to make some revisions to the resolution so next week you will have a resolution. You will
Right.
sorry, Tom, let me finish. Next week you will have a resolution, you will have a letter, you will have an attachment that cites the sections of the code. That's not going to change. And there will be a video of trucks going across Park Place. That will not change. I will now make some amendments to the resolution to bring it into sync with the letter. I will get that. Today is Monday. I will get that out to you in the next day or two so that by next week you will have a package in front of you to look at, to vote on, relating to a request to ask for information from DOT regarding the process for eliminating one or both of the two routes that come through the city, and also a direct request to restrict trucks over 48 feet from coming through the city, period. But I do need to revise the resolution that will go with all of this, and I will send that out to you within the next 2 days.
What I was trying to say, Margaret, is that after we talked on the phone, I tried to revise it, but it really needs a thoroughgoing revision. So it wasn't worth even working on it tonight. Okay, that's it with resolutions. Any other business, old or new? Vicky?
Yes, I had some residents that. Yeah, I have some residents that they've been asking to amend the loan law or code. That has been discussed with the Rich Bolo from CAC. And there's a woman, Jennifer Michelle, actually from, she's the president of.
Could you talk a little, I can't hear you very well.
Yes, she's building pollinator friendly, Jennifer Michelle.
Okay.
She's the president of pollinator friendly communities. And she's gonna have, give us a Zoom, some information about how to amend the code, and if anyone is interested.
Well, part of the problem is it's not just the city code, you know that, right? There's also state code.
Yeah, so but the state has a different, we are a lot stricter than the state, so I think we should at least be like the state,
Mhm.
so.
The state is 10 inches, I think we're.
I think Margaret might be interested as from the legal committee in Newtown, if you
Yeah,
want to.
10 inches.
No, I'm interested, but you know, there's a lot to it, and it's not just simply letting your lawn grow.
Oh, I know.
There's certain things in the law.
Yeah,
you can't
yeah,
do.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's good to know that.
At least it should be state level.
We could definitely do something about that. And the CAC has been
Yeah.
talking about it. Anything else from council members? Or is there? The public.
Hello.
Hi,
All right.
fine.
Yes, I wanted to introduce,
Oh,
may I go to this?
yeah, sure. Well, who are you?
My name's Jack Dillon. I live at 442 Union in the first ward. And I wanted to bring to the council's attention an issue I've been having for a couple of years. It involves a city sewer that runs underneath my house
Yeah.
that we didn't know was there. It's called the Sluice Way. It's very old, wasn't on most of the modern maps. And it took about a year of investigation working with DPW to even determine what the source of this flooding was. It took me a while to catch it in the act. We knew, okay, there's water coming in. It was a surprising amount of water, 2 feet we could see. And then the one good thing about it is that it goes almost as quickly as it comes in. So finally, I was able to catch it in the act. And like I said, with working with DPW, we were able to determine that the source was actually this very old city sluice that runs diagonally underneath my house. It took me a while too to realize that it's probably not that easy to see, but that's the basement flooded with foot there. It comes in so fast that it's actually 12,000 gallons in about 20 minutes. That's 2 feet of water in that space. And this is contaminated with, this is contaminated with sewage water too.
Mhm.
So we've had one thing that we're not super clear on yet is this the city's responsibility? It's been implied to me that it is the city's responsibility because it is the city's sewage.
Applied by,
DPW. The other thing is that it doesn't seem like it's an easy problem to solve. We had DPW again last week. Again, this has been going on for 2 years now. But so DPW was again there last week doing some more investigations. The problem is that it seems like a lot of these old sluice ways connect to each other. So it's not a simple matter of just cutting yourself off from it, because our house and our neighbor's house exits to it. The yellow line shows where this little sluice way travels, and there's all sorts of other things that hook up to it too. So our house exits to it, my neighbor's house exits to it, probably other houses down up the block, maybe all the way to the main behind the fire station on Warren Street. So on Cherry Alley again connects to it, and it's zigging around, making this big journey back down again to under Cherry Alley, kind of behind where Finch is, the old police station. So what happens on the heavy rain is it all pools up there. It goes up like a little tiny straw, and then it passes up the area of least resistance. So there's actually a manhole located on my property too, on that side lot there. If you look down the manhole, you see it's very old. It goes 10 feet down. When you go down into the basement, you've gone down like 8 feet. So at that point, it's pretty low underneath the basement. So we actually dug down to it, me and DPW, and we hit the capstone. Problem is, there's no easy solution to this. I got a quote from Mike Myers, contractor who knows the city really well.
Yes.
It was $50,000 to $200,000 for his plan, where we dig down, dig up this old sluice and replace it with pipe so that it can't penetrate anymore. That would help my house, wouldn't necessarily help other houses that experience the problem. So the other alternative, like you said, the city's right now, Rob and Ron are looking at, diverting it somehow, might not be possible. Another option was to sleeve it, where they basically kind of inflate a pipe within a pipe. Wasn't a contractor they could find to do it. Because it's basically putting a round pipe in a square pipe, which doesn't work. So talked to DEC recently. They had some thoughts about it. They actually issued a letter to DPW a couple weeks ago, and it outlined that they expected that this was basically in violation. And they said there was about 30, they please use this 30-day window to get back to us with these number of things. One of them being scheduled for when this investigation will be complete and when the repair should be complete, and that should be within this year. So that's where we stand now. I just wanted to bring it to your attention to help move it along, because it's not an easy problem to solve. It was solved by now, but it's already been 2 years, and we'd really like to get it fixed. Obviously, the sewage is we've had engineers look at it. You can imagine the problems that might pose to the house on a chronic basis: mold, health, structural. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, I think Margaret has a question.
Okay.
No, I don't have a question. I have a reaction. Thank you very much for that presentation. We have discussed this. This individual is one of my constituents, and I would like to have this issue brought before legal counsel in the city as to what the city's responsibility is to addressing this issue. This, I think, is just not just Crystal, but also the city attorney.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
Sorry, Tom, I'm not finished.
Margaret, I am telling you, it wouldn't be Crystal. Sometimes you have to be interrupted because.
I'm not finished, Tom. I was going to say, Crystal is the council.
You don't do that at your meetings, you don't. Anyway, go ahead.
And also hard. And I think that we need to bring this to the city as to what our responsibility is. But in the meantime, we have a resident in Hudson who is enduring for the last 2 years absolutely unacceptable circumstances that are the result of infrastructure problems within the city, and we need to be addressing this. So we need to solve the problem, but we also need to figure out who is responsible for the problem. I'm very glad that my constituent has brought this before the council, and I hope that the council will take it seriously and address the needs of our resident.
Are you done?
Has any
Yes,
other?
I am done.
Hey, I'm just trying to make sure she's done. Hold on. Are you done, Margaret?
Yes, I said I was done, Tom.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. Dominic.
Has any other neighbors expressed the same issue?
Yeah, it's my immediate neighbor, Bria, actually attached on one side. She has the same problem, because if you look at the map, you'll see it just goes under her house too.
What's the property address of your address?
It's 442, so it's kind of right in the middle between 4th and 5th. On the
That's 442 Union Street.
And do you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did it, how long have you been there? Did it start 2 years
I
ago?
moved in 2 years ago, and it happened the first week, but it was a mystery for a while. We didn't really know where it was coming from. Was it rainwater? Was it seeping in through the walls? So it really wasn't until after a year that we did a lot of tests with the city, dye tests, looking at the sewer and the rain. They were able to, I should mention too, they actually put a camera down last summer. So once we got that camera footage, which I can share with you if you like, you can see this really old, concrete sluice that snaking right under the house. And then it was definitive at that point when we dumped down.
And has your neighbor is also experiencing it, and have they also moved in the last 2 years?
No, but she has a finished basement, so there is some resistance there from the concrete.
Sure.
And some, oftentimes too, you don't catch it in the ads.
Yeah.
And that was part of the problem. He knew it was coming in, but he couldn't tell from.
The letter from DEC went to whom?
Went to Rob.
Okay, so far you've only dealt with Rob Perry.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. It seems to me that the first thing is to alert the city attorney, Andy Howard,
Mhm.
and get him involved. That would be the best way to move this along, because
Okay.
really, as a council, we can't really do anything.
Right.
And he has been notified.
Anyway, Andy has, okay,
I'm a
so,
long-time resident, so
I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna.
this has happened. I've heard this before, so I think it's just something that's old, it's just festered right now with you, but I've had two other people that in the third ward. That Leo had the same thing. It's then where did the dye end up? When you said you did the dye, where did the dye end up?
We knew that it moves from us, that goes down on that diagonal back down to Cherry Alley. We just happen to be the only lucky two houses on our side of the block that have access to pass under. Everybody else, it goes into the backyard. And at that point, it's 10 feet underground. So it's not gonna come up there. It's just at our lowest point. Now, it might be happening to some other people up the street, but I'm not aware of that. And the problem is too, people are exiting, it's our exit. And it could be a lot of others. When Ron, was across the street the other day, looking in at it, it's a very big, basin or whatever you call it. So.
Well, we'd definitely like you to keep us apprised of what's going on. As I said, though, there's no direct action we can really take. I don't know what else to tell you, but we can sort of definitely question. I'm sorry I didn't bring this up with Rob here, so we could, hear more.
Yeah, I should have mentioned before.
Yeah, that's okay, that's okay, there's plenty of time, well, obviously not plenty of time. But I don't see an immediate solution here, is the problem.
That's the problem. Yeah, the engineers were scratching their heads. Yeah. So, and like I said, Mike Myers proposed a plan, but it's expensive. Yeah, to go down straight to the source.
We certainly have our sympathy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I can keep bringing, if the city attorney wants to reach out directly to me, they're certainly welcome to do that. I spoke with John Friedman today, probably conversation with him to get his opinion on it. So if they need to talk attorney to attorney, they can do that if you'd like. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other council members or public have anything left to talk about? Yes, Addison.
My name is Sadia and I'm a youth connection member of Operation Unite.
Could you come up close and speak a little louder, please?
My name is Sadia and I'm a youth connection member of Operation Unite. We would like to thank everyone for approving the grant for the Arts and Cycle for Black Arts and Cultural Festival Parade.
Yes, without your funding, we wouldn't be able to rent things like tents and chairs and entertainment for the youth and families, so thank you.
We would greatly appreciate it if you guys would join us at the parade on Saturday, August 12th at 2 p.m. The lineup starts at 1:15. And thanks once again for the grant.
Edit?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, anyone?
Motion.
Second? Is that a second? Well, all those with favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? We're done, thank you. Well, Mike.